Khalid, welcome to Real Talk.
Okay.
So tell me about M55. What's your thesis and what are you investing in?
So actually, it's a fourth fund, but the difference with the investment track we had over the last 10 years is that this fund is regulated. So the whole point is that we want to act as a gateway for traditional finance LPs to get exposure into the market. So I would say maybe that's a big difference with the free funds we've been running before. And second part is we used to focus only on primary. Historically, we've been doing primary since 2014, beginning of IF. But in this fund and regarding the current market and how the cycle is diluted, we decided to go a bit more on the liquid at the beginning to hedge our position in primary. But over time, we're managing to extract more value in the liquid with way less drawdown risk, and that's where we're heading.
So more and more illiquid.
VC going to liquid as well.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
And so you invest in all sectors, or you focus on DePIN in particular, or?
For the liquid, we are totally agnostic, so wherever is the volatility on the market. For DePIN, actually, we started investing in DePIN. I would say first project was iExec computing. Back in 2017, there was a Golem network, I think 2018. But I think it was mismatch of timing. Now we're coming to that again. We see Render, which is really taking that path. We also have exposure in I would say out of crypto business, but related to AI. So we've been at the forefront, I would say 2022, 2023 of a GPU market. So we are there are some sub verticals in the DePIN vertical that we're pretty bullish on. So everything which is related to access to GPU. Mainly for, I was saying we're at the forefront, so we saw from China all the restriction around the GPU. First thing, the shortage of GPU.
Right.
Everyone wanted to access A100, H100. It was impossible to access because of a shortage. Then later come the quota and the restriction, so you could not even import in China. And the price spiking. And on the other hand, you still have all these startups which need to run their model. You have the research center in university, which also need to run their model and who don't have access. So it could look a bit ideal to think, okay, let's make a full HPC, high performance computing center and decentralize that. The thing is that actually it was a crucial need. And not only it was a crucial need, but on top of that, we managed at some point of history to lower the price, up to 4 times maybe lower than centralized services.
So you're pretty much an OG. You're going back to 2017, 2018 column, kind of the first wave of the initial crowdsourced compute platforms. How have you seen the industry change over the last 6-7 years to make it more viable in 2024 versus 2018?
I would say, there are quite crucial difference. But there are some pattern which remains. So one pattern which remains is that you get in traditional finance this kind of alimentary chain, which is based on the asymmetry of information. I would say now the asymmetry of information is getting way more compact than what we've seen in the last 10 years. That's one first point, more compact, the information is more transparent. Let's say a typical example, first halving, even people in the industry have not much idea about how it's gonna impact the price. Church is actually pretty obvious. But if you take the retail, we had no idea. Now, if you take the halving, we didn't see much skyrocketing price after the halving because it was priced in. No, so it's a typical pattern. But what I mean is that this asymmetry of information is way more compact. So now the whole job for us, VC, and anyone getting in this event is keeping this one step ahead to keep a bit of asymmetry. Or if it's not between the VC and the retail, it has to be between each other VCs.
So on the liquid side, how much are you allocating to DePIN?
You mean for the primary side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for primary side, actually, DePIN were 2 angles of attack. Now we don't have much exposure. We did last deal we did in DePIN were back to 2022. Now we're looking at a new project. I would say maybe amongst all the primary we got in our lines, I would say maybe 10%.
Okay.
Things we're looking at now is definitely a decentralized HPC, high performance computing, so everything related to access to GPU. Another thing we're looking at and what I'm pretty bullish on is everything which is wireless network based on fun, but for one particular reason, which is like there's a lot of operators now which are building what do we call the smart touch device, smart feature device, which basically is like instead of getting your iPhone for 2K, now you can get a phone for like 10 to 20 USD, which allow you to access kind of smart services that you can get on a smartphone. Which means actually, and it was like the biggest problem for DePIN, which is like the population which is supposed to benefit the most of a DePIN actually cannot access, whichever device from Helium. They don't know the yield. Sure. Barrier to entry is at $300, $400. So the population who should benefit from that could not access to that. Now that we got like this smart feature phone, let's say like between 10 and 20 USD, they're gonna be able to access to that. So this is like the biggest market to tap and to serve. And I think this is like the real philosophy behind the DePIN at first.
So is there a specific portfolio company that you're referring to with the low entry point phones? Is that like Jambo? I know Jambo's doing that.
Okay, I mean, the one in mind now and we are checking is called Kai OS. We're also distributing the OS, which is running on like a different type of phone.
Gotcha.
We've been deploying in India. Now we're deploying in South Africa, and there's like basically like half of the globe which seem to be served.
So you're a major operation. So what's your AUM right now? Overall funds?
AUM in primary, I mean, it's split in between two funds. I would say something between like between 20-25 in what is not liquid yet, because we've been liquidating lines in the primary market. We can call it secondary. And in the full liquid, we're at 30 million.
And are you seeing LPs, are LPs aware of the opportunity in DePIN? Are you hearing more interest in that from LPs?
We see more and more interest. I mean, there's like a funny ratio we've been talking about in the office, which is like the, this ratio in the market, which we call like market dominance, which we call like a side event dominant. So we check like how many DePIN events are going on during the main events.
There's a great ratio at this Toga 2040. Yeah, it's way up.
I mean, I felt like we were like 2 days ago, I felt like everything was all about DePIN. I said yesterday for DePIN, every event I've been to is DePIN. And I was checking this morning, actually, we got like 797 events, side events for 2049. And actually, maybe only 28 of them are for DePIN. The noise made around is much more than that. So I think that people have to come back to fundamentals, whether it's like RWA or DePIN. I mean, when it's going to be the bear market, what has been more resilient in the last cycle among everything, it has been the DePIN sector.
So you mentioned access to devices that can access the DePIN network as a blocker for people in developing countries to access DePIN. Are there any other blockers that are preventing DePIN's mass adoption besides the one you mentioned?
I would say maybe that's the biggest challenge, and I would say like there are like actually also some intrinsic criteria from the DePIN, which is like, I mean, we cannot decentralize for the sake of decentralizing. So whichever services, whether we're talking about like a CDN, proxies, anything related to bandwidth, GPU, anything related to AI. I mean, it's all about like, is the performance reaching the standard of a centralized operator? Because in the end, if you are like, let's say we're talking about the HPC, if you're a research center, the only thing you want to check is, okay, no downtime, no response time, and the price of using the GPU bandwidth. So when the decentralized DePIN operators will reach that project, I think.
Do you think there's, do you think, what do you think is the most kind of counterintuitive view you hold on the DePIN sector that most people might disagree with?
That I hold?
That you hold.
Okay, I mean, there are like some stuff which are, let's say, like backstage discussion. But whether we're talking about DePIN or not, I mean, the whole thing is whatever is decentralized is redistributing the profit. So whichever DePIN project you check, you have to understand if like, are people trying to extract some value out of it by creating some volume, which is the equivalent of what we can call wash trading, or in nicer word, like some mining, or are people really using it? Are people really putting some storage to rent?
Is there real value?
Are people really rented it out, or is it just like a game of extracting the value out of a mining.
Yeah, that's a lot of what Web3 is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, when it's the case, it can't last for too long.
Yes. The
Market making power, but people get out of breath after a little time.
Yeah.
So the one which can pass like one full cycle, I think are very well.
That stands the test.
Yeah, and maybe one other point for the DePIN is that actually we are pretty bullish on an Asian project for DePIN. So there's a new accelerator from IoTeX, and I mean, historically we've always been in Asia and in China. Whatever the regulation, we still think like things are happening here, and especially for DePIN because you got like kind of all the ingredients for the recipe. You got like crypto-friendly regulation, so let's say at least for Singapore and Hong Kong. You got like a speed of capital, which we don't have much in the western part of the world, or at least not in Europe.
Speed of capital, you mean?
Speed of capital, which is like you can gather money. I mean, you can gather resources fast to deploy fast.
So we don't have that in the West, you think?
I mean, we do have, but it's like a bit more crystallized. Here is more institutionalized to the speed of capital. I mean, from experience and from my humble opinion. And last thing that we have as well here is the manufacturing power, which is a big point for DePIN, which is like not being reliable on one single point of failure to produce the device.
Cool. Khalid, thanks so much for your time, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.